Oh dear. Okay, I'm back. Hello everyone, welcome to Quick Unpick. Right, I'm just going to invite the lovely Susan Young. Actually doing a quick unpick before quick unpick. Is anyone sewing? What are you up to? Hi Sue!
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes. I
Good,
don't use these earpoddy things very often.
Do you know what? I forget every time, and I'm always like, right, everyone, you must wear your earphones. And just before I see them, I'm like, oh, I've got to wear them too. So, how are you this lovely sunny morning?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, it's nice to look out of the window and see a sunny day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you've had really nice weather, because where have you just been?
I've been really fortunate. I just come back from Antigua. Had
Oh,
10 days. Yeah, it was really touch and go though before we went because I tested positive before we
oh,
went.
Sue.
And my husband hadn't had it, so it was just so close, and I kept testing positive. It was just awful, and we all know how it's been, don't we? These last 2 years things just keep getting cancelled, and the whole point of the
Yeah.
trip was we should have gone last year for my husband's 60th birthday, and that got cancelled. And then
Oh.
we were going for his 61st, and that was looking a bit touch and go as well.
But you got there. You got there.
Yes, and we had a lovely
And
time.
was it
Our two daughters
wonderful?
came. It was just
Good.
lovely. It was a lovely resort, just really relaxing and just able to forget all about the rubbish that's been going on everywhere. So
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate, really fortunate.
Oh, I'm so pleased. Was it nice weather the whole time as well?
Well, there's quite a lot of rain, but the thing with if anybody's ever been to the Caribbean, they know that it comes on really quickly. It rains really hard and then it's gone again. So it's a bit British in that way, but yes, so it was a mixture. It was very windy. The resort we were staying in was really windy. So I think we were covered in a light dusting of sand quite a lot of the time.
Oh, you're like the rest of London. Have you heard about
I
how we
know,
are all
yes, I
covered
came
in
back.
sand? It's really funny. But
Strange.
what's hilarious is the day after it happened, because Stephen always tells me all these news stories. He's like, I've got something for you. This is what's happening. He's like, the Sahara Desert is all over London. And so I knew, but I was speaking to people the next day that were like, and these awful builders came and spilt sand on my car. And I was like, no. And everyone had their own story as to why their stuff was covered in sand. So, I felt like the phantom of knowledge for about an hour.
Good for you.
So, my dear, it's so good to see you.
Oh, it's lovely to see you as well. I think it's been the last time I actually saw you in the flesh was at your baby shower.
Oh my gosh! So three years
3.
ago.
Is it a birthday
Wow.
soon, isn't it?
It is this time next week. I will be
Yes.
fully birthdayed up. And actually,
Oh,
it's
gosh.
at a birthday party of another NCT babe, one of the babies from that now, and it's so sweet. They're all turning
Yeah.
3 at the same time. It's lovely.
Oh, that's lovely when
Someone's
they've got little
watching
friends like that.
Encanto. Oh, sorry, I've just seen Small Smiley is watching Encanto.
Oh,
My favorite film at the moment. I'm completely obsessed.
I can't say that I've seen it, but my 30-year-old daughter thinks it's pretty fantastic. So she's
It
a bit of a
really
Disney
is.
fan.
I fully
Yeah.
recommend it. So yeah, what are you sewing a lot at the moment? What's your kind of how is your shed quarters doing? Or is it thread quarters or shed
Thread
quarters?
quarters.
Thread
Yes, thread
quarters, sorry. I
quarters.
can't say my THs, that's a tough one for me.
Well, I like to keep busy out there. I'm very fortunate because it's at the end of our garden, so I get to see the garden. I'm sitting sideways onto the house, so I get a view across my garden and my neighbour's garden, and I've got bird feeders outside the window, so I can look out and see that going on, and it's a lovely, lovely space to be able to have. So I know I'm really fortunate to have it, but I've served my dues just the same as everybody else when it comes to having a tiny space in the corner of the dining room, or eventually I graduated to a little bedroom, and I just having a space of your own to sew in is just so wonderful. And I can go out and I can shut the door and I can have my own peace and quiet out there, and then I can leave all my mess out when I'm done, or if I'm in the middle of something, I can just leave it all there and shut the door and come away and leave it. I haven't got to tidy it away to, you know, use the dining table or anything. So
yeah, that is pure
I know what that's like too.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's so lovely. And is it really nice and cozy in there and everything? Have you got it all insulated and heated? And...
Yes, it is. So it's like a garden room. It's a bit posher than a shed, but not much. So it's wooden. It's not one of these fancy, swanky looking garden rooms. It's basically a shed with more windows.
Yeah.
And it's all insulated. I've just got a little radiator out there that I turn on in the cold weather, but it does get pretty chilly. So I've got piles of jumpers and booty type slippers that I wear out there as well when it's really cold. And then the opposite is it gets very hot in the summer as well, because the sun is on it. The way the sun moves in our garden, it comes in through the window, so it heats up quite quickly.
Yeah,
so there have been times when I've been doing bridal alterations in the past, and because they're massive dresses, huge skirts, lots of net and things, and then when it's been these silly days where it's been 35 degrees here, which is not often, but it does happen, it's just too hot to do them, and you get sweaty. You can't sweat on somebody else's wedding dress. So I have been known to be out there and sewing in my pajamas at 6:30 in the morning just to get the jobs done.
Oh, that sounds so lovely.
Well, do you know, it's interesting actually talking about doing bridal alterations. The lockdown has made me realise that actually I never particularly liked doing them, but I did because I specialised in bridal wear for so long. I could do them. I knew how to do them. But actually, I realised they made me really anxious. I know we all had lots of things that made us anxious, didn't they, during the lockdown, the last 2 years?
Yeah.
And because I didn't have them, I didn't miss them in the slightest. And I realised that they made me really worry and anxious about doing them because there's such a huge responsibility.
Absolutely.
And I took the worry of the bride or the bridesmaid on myself so that they could be more relaxed about it, because I knew what I was doing. I wanted them to feel confident in my abilities. So I took on their worries to give them the impression that I knew what I was doing. Which I do.
Of course you do.
But actually, I don't miss them. And I've decided I'm not going to do them.
I can totally understand that, because the pressure of a wedding is huge. And so, you taking that on, it's absolutely massive. And I can totally understand. I mean, a few people have asked me to do something bridal or wedding, and I just run for the hills. God, I don't have that amount of, it's definitely scary, and everything kind of needs to be perfect, doesn't it? It just,
completely.
So
because you're dealing with strange fabrics and things, they're very specialist fabrics. And of course, these dresses cost an absolute fortune. There's beadwork, there's lace, there's net, tulle, satin, all of these different things. My workroom is lovely, but I do get spiders out there.
Oh yeah. I understand that.
So I'd hate for something to get covered in spiders' webs or find a spider in the bottom of their dress, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that's come out of lockdown, is that I'm not going to do that. For friends and close family, I will, because I've got a wedding dress that's still hanging there that was for the daughter of good friends of ours. I've known her since she was born, and I was making her dress, and that fell victim in the first year of lockdown, and they're still not married yet, and I've got her dress not finished.
It's ready when she is.
I hope she'll get to wear it one day. I really do, because it's such a beautiful dress. Really is lovely. But there we go.
So, I'm sure she will. I'm sure that dress will be worn. Don't you worry.
She will. Yes.
Yeah. So will you tell us a bit about your background? Because obviously, the bridal thing is something that I didn't know about you at all. So where did you, when did you start sewing? Why? And all of those lovely things.
So I always loved doing bits of sewing from when I was a child. I didn't learn it from anybody. My mum can't really sew. My nan didn't do much. My aunt is quite good, or was when she's younger. I was always interested in fashion, but I knew that I didn't want to be a fashion designer, because that's what people tend to think you want to do. I was always sketching and drawing, but I knew I enjoyed making clothes. So eventually, when I got to secondary school, I had a really good textiles or needlework teacher, as it was then, Miss Flint.
Hi, Miss Flint, if you're still around.
I doubt it. She seemed pretty old then, but you know how things are. She might have only been about 45 for all I know.
Well, sewing is good for the soul.
Oh, yes. But she was a real stickler. So actually, although she was quite fierce, I was really well taught, and I'm so appreciative of that, because gradually I did my O level and A level at school, and then I fiddled about for a bit doing an art foundation course, because I was still being pushed towards doing fashion design, because nobody knew of anything other than just designing. But eventually I got to London College of Fashion, where I did a technical course. So it wasn't a degree, it was garment technology. So I learned pattern cutting, methods of production, all sorts of stuff. And it was just like I'd suddenly discovered what I wanted to be learning, what I needed to know. And it was just great. And from there, I got a job working for David Fielden, who is a high-end bridal and evening wear designer. At one point, I wanted to do costume design. That was my thing, because I love Victorian costume and Regency costume. I love a period drama. They're one of my favourite things to watch. But I discovered that there was a module at college on bridal wear. And I discovered, well, really, that's quite similar to costume design, because it's all flights of fantasy, really. So that was where the bridal thing started. Oh, I loved it. And so I got the job at David Fielden. I was there for 3 years. I was something called a sample cutter there, which meant that I cut out for the designer and the pattern cutter the first samples of the collections or any special one-offs. So that was a huge responsibility, because some of the fabrics I was working with, and I'm talking about 1985, 1986, at that time, the fabrics cost around £125 a metre. So, and you'd get a sample length, which was often only 5 metres, that had come in from Italy or France. And that's all you have. So you have to cut it out of that. So that's where I'm a great stickler for cutting out accurately. And that's where it stems from, really. So I worked there, and then I left that job eventually, and I worked in John Lewis department store for a while, in the dress fabric department. Then I had our children, our 2 daughters. And then I went back to work for a little bridal wear company not far from where I live, and we made to order bridal wear, and that was wonderful. I loved working there, really enjoyed it. But sadly, the lady who owned it emigrated. She sold the company and moved to Australia. That was a bit drastic. My colleague and I, we were offered the chance to buy the company, but it just wasn't what we wanted to do at that time. We both had quite young children, and I had no ambition to be a business owner, and I don't regret.
Yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish, the business side. Yes. Yeah.
Huge responsibility. And so we didn't. But that was fine. And then I worked in secondary school for nearly 10 years as a technician in the textile and food department. So that taught me some other things as well. And now I work from home and do what I want.
That is so wonderful. And were you always sewing your own clothes throughout this? When did that?
Yes, mostly. Yes, yeah. I loved it. When I was a student, that was all I could afford. So I would copy stuff out of Vogue and other magazines. I would get my ideas from there, and I would copy them, like Ralph Lauren, or that was one I can remember copying. It was a skirt. It was a sort of A-line. It was probably terrible if I look back at it now. Luckily, there are no photographs.
Oh, well, you're a flawless sewer, so I bet it wasn't. And you must have been so glamorous in all of your, remade clothes, and that would have been beautiful.
I had an awful lot of hair then. I mean, I shared some photos on my grid last year. I kept finding all these photographs from the 80s. All these ruffles, and collars.
Yes.
So I look at all the collars that are doing the rounds again now, and I could see, but honestly, no, I did that back then.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. And you're all you younger sewers, you'll be the same one day as well.
I know. We'll see that the new sewers coming by in a few years. We're like, we've already done those dresses, darling.
Exactly. You've done all that.
Oh, Small Smiley is saying some lovely things to you. So she's saying, what a talent you are. It's so true.
Thank you. That's
such
really
a talented
kind.
sewer. I remember one of the first times I met you, and I think something like my button had come off or something, and you just sewed it up in a flash. And you and Claire Sews just sorted me right out. You were like, Gabby, your hem. Yeah, we'll sort that.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yes. Yeah. Happy times.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Small Smiley, who's also, she's so lovely and chatty. Hello, lovely Small Smiley, you're wonderful. Said that her dad was also a pattern cutter. So,
really?
Yeah. So
That's
you go.
Impressive. I'm really pattern cutting is still one of my favourite things. I don't do very much of it, but I'm just in awe of it. There's one person I must mention who is a pattern cutter, my friend Teresa, who makes the costumes for Strictly Come Dancing.
You know him?
Oh, she's fantastic. She's just fantastic. I don't suppose you'll be watching this morning, because I know she's working on Dancing on Ice now, so her weekends are very busy.
Well, hi Teresa, when you catch up, we think you're amazing.
Yes, definitely. But there are, I really appreciate good pattern cutting on styles, because I know the work that goes into it, and it's everybody can have a go at it, and copying your own clothes is a great thing to do. I think I probably did that as well when I was younger. That was where I started, and I would make my own patterns just using newspaper and cut them from things that I'd already got, and that's a great way to learn about the shapes and things that you use. So I would encourage anybody to just have a go. Don't buy terribly expensive fabric, at least now, because there's so much dead stock and things available. You can get fabrics at really good prices and practice something. They weren't called wearable toiles back in the day. They were just the thing that you made. They were just clothes.
I mean, I have to say, I don't know what a wearable toile is. That to me is clothes as well.
It's just a dress, isn't it? Or whatever it is. It's just a thing. I don't like having things that don't get finished. I must admit, I've always tended to be a kind of one in, one out person. Unless something else is not for me, I tend to just have one thing on the go at a time, and I like to see it through. I started doing more batch cutting, just so that utilize your time better, doing that. So have you started doing much more sewing now?
Yes, and I've been batch cutting as well, and I really love doing it that way. So I fully recommend it to everyone, that if you have maybe lots of projects in mind, which is my problem. I'm like, I want to make all the things all the time, and just get them all cut out, and then you can do them in bit by bit. It's brilliant.
Exactly, because you can select from it, can't you? I've started to like having a little pile of cut things, knowing that they're there, and I think, oh yes, I'll do that next, or no, I'll leave that one because I'll do this one first. So I'm quite enjoying that. That's a new departure for me. Nice. So I've just seen that Small Smiley,
your passion. There you go.
Passion now. Do you know, I think because I'm fortunate to have more time, the thing I love to do, and that's been quite frustrated in the last 2 years, I love to go to galleries and museums. And
you go to all of them? Yeah.
Well, I try to. It's always been a thing that I've enjoyed doing, particularly the historic costume, because going back to when I wanted to be a costume designer, that was my thing. I just love to see, particularly, there's a period in about 1860 where the crinoline has gone more to the back and you get more of a train. And I just adore that silhouette. I just always have. my wedding dress was fairly that shape as well. So.
We want a picture. Can you put a picture in your
God.
stories?
Actually, there is one on my grid. If you go back to about this time last year, because it's our wedding anniversary in a couple of weeks, I got my wedding dress out because we were in another lockdown. I got it out of the box and I put it on and I pranced around the garden in it.
Oh,
so there are some photos.
Okay, I will definitely find that. I don't know how I missed that.
Look.
I
It's got a massive
lockdown hair because I loved your lockdown hair. It was amazing.
My lockdown hair, honestly.
I loved it.
Made me mad. I turned into Prue Leith at one point. I had to find a necklace. There's also on my grid from the year before last.
Prue Leith.
Oh yeah, I adore Prue Leith, but the fact is she's 80 and I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a bit distressing.
Oh, bless you. Well, I loved it. Like every time you post a picture, I was like, yes, it was the lockdown hair. It gave me like life. I loved it.
I had to do my hair last night when I got back. We got back yesterday morning, so all my pink had kind of washed out. I'm going a bit paler these days, and it all washed out. And I thought, well, I can't sit here and be Pink Sue, as I'm known to the few people, and not have pink. So I did it last night.
I understand your predicament. Don't worry. My hair is up for a reason today. There are patches. We'll say no more.
But I love your new colour. You weren't the same when
you
you didn't have your colour. You had strawberry red hair when I first met you. That gorgeous, bright red.
I know. I missed that. Well, orange was the first colour I went when I stole. Well, I didn't steal, but my mum had a bottle of bleach in her cupboard. And I decided to use it, and then we were like, right, let's make it a colour instead of this horrible yellowy orange.
The same was it yellow?
Yeah, it was grass. It was horrible. So then we went orange, and I was really, really happy with it. And then I went to school, and my headmaster told me to dye it back.
Oh no!
It was so sad, but I was a bit young for my dyeing journey. So God. You know, from like 16 onwards, it was all the time I went different colours. I love it. Yeah. I love having colourful hair. Whenever I had just normal coloured hair, I was like, I kind of, you know, don't feel like me. So
well, I'm in awe of you for doing it, because it took me to the age of 52 and a half to actually do it, because I'd always wanted to. Zandra Rhodes, I loved Zandra Rhodes back in the 70s and 80s, and she's had fuchsia pink hair. And I think subliminally that must have been where I got the idea. But then there was, as I grew up, there was always someone, and I don't know who that someone was, just in general, who wouldn't approve. I thought wouldn't approve of me dyeing my hair the colour I wanted to, even for a short while. So I never did it. And then when I finally left the school, working at the school, I thought, actually, there's no reason why I can't try this. So I chatted with my hairdresser, and she did it for me initially.
I've only got it in the front. I you when you came in, and you said, "Pink, please."
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. She was well up for it. So we just did the front. It looked a bit strange then when I look back at pictures. So that's 7 years ago now. It looked a bit strange, but since then I've left the rest of it to go its natural colour. So it's just, well, as you all know from my knockdown hair journey, it's just sort of silvery grey in the front normally. But I've kept the pink up ever since. And
I love it. It suits you so much.
I do too. Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, I mean, we run out of time so quickly in these talks. I can never get over it. But the one thing I really, really can't go without talking about is So Over 50, because I think your community is just amazing. And was it you and Judith that started it? Judith Rosalind, isn't it?
So Judith, yes, who's Judith Rosalind, she started the Instagram account. She and I have been following one another for a year or so, I think, 18 months or so. We'd never met, but we obviously had quite a lot in common, shared interests in the clothing that we liked and other things as well. But from my point of view, it started because I shared some photographs of me wearing a particular pattern, a particular dress. And I don't know why it occurred to me, but I noticed that, although I was getting lovely comments from other sewers, that the pattern company completely ignored it. And I thought, that's interesting, because you usually get a like. And I didn't have that many followers at that time, so I don't know why I was so full of myself that it would be something. But anyway, I noticed.
No, good. They really should, definitely.
I think they should be, if they really know what they're about, they should pay more attention to the whole community and not just the younger aspects of the community. So I was feeling quite cross about that. And so I wrote a blog post about it. No, I didn't name and shame, and I never have. People know which pattern it is now, but in conversation. But I've never said it out loud on social media. But I wrote a blog post where I asked this question and thought, well, is it just me and feeling hard done by, or is this a general thing? And I got so many comments back with other women saying, well, now you mention it, yes, actually, I do feel like I'm not out there. So I'd written that, and at the same time, unbeknownst to either of us, Judith had seen that socialists were asking for people to think about what the next new account might be. And so she started the So Over 50 account in August, 3.5 years ago. And it just grew exponentially. And because I was involved with her right from the beginning, Sandy came on board very, very quickly. And so it's Sandy and Judith run the day-to-day account together and do an absolutely fantastic job. They are brilliant at it. And how they stay so motivated, I do not know. So I don't take any part in that. I'm just a big cheerleader for it at any and every opportunity. And I do write blog posts, sometimes specifically when they've asked me to, about a topic that the account has been covering. The last couple that I've done, I've brought together lots of suggestions. That the So Over 50 account is fantastic for putting in their suggestions for particular types of pattern. So one of the posts I wrote 2 years ago now was all about t-shirts, people's go-to t-shirt patterns. So I just collated all of that information and put that in a blog post, and that's probably the most popular one ever. And I've recently done one on a particular type of trouser pattern, so flat-fronted with a side zip.
I love those.
And it turns out there are loads of patterns like that. So I've collated all of those, and they're in a blog post from about a month ago, and that's proving to be really, really popular as well. So that's the kind of thing that I do for them on a ad hoc basis. But I will always cheer it out, and it's been so encouraging to see pattern companies now realizing that we're there. And we have money to spend. We have spare money quite often that we want to spend on nice quality products. And it just, with everything, isn't it? Everything should be so much more diverse. And my particular bee in my bonnet is ageism. All ages should be out there.
I completely agree. And I think you guys kickstarted a lot of different groups of people that weren't being seen and weren't being, shown. And
completely,
So, I think that's really amazing. We all have a lot to owe to you guys, actually, because, you have changed the sewing community for the better. And made people realise, because, it is quite easy to glaze past these things and not see what's going on. And when someone shouts about it and says, actually, we're not happy, then it makes you go, oh, sorry, I'm now open my eyes to something that I didn't realise was an issue. And now I realise it is. It makes me feel like I want to change the way I do things as well. So, thank you for that. And well done to all of you. It was so lovely, because I saw Barbara at the So 50 stand at the Stitch Festival. And I was like, that is so amazing that you all have a space to be, and that it's you weren't pushed to one side as well. It was in a really obvious place, and it made me feel like actually they have listened, they do care, and it was just really gratifying to see. Actually, I was really pleased that was.
I was so sad not to get there, because I'd been organising all the volunteers to be a part of that, And then, of course, I had
I
to make
guess you,
the decision not to go because of the risk of so many people and not having had
yeah.
COVID. I had to make the decision in the end that I was not going to go. But of course, I got COVID anyway.
Oh, no.
So
Don't worry, I was one of the only people there wearing a mask in the whole of the Stitch Festival. And everyone must have thought like, oh, there's one of those. But I'm pleased I did, because, you know, you've got to do what you can. And I committed and I went with it. But yeah, I kind of wanted to come in the So Over 50s room, and I'm a bit sad that I'm not there yet.
And I don't wish your life away, but definitely you'll get there. But we embrace everybody. I think that's something I really love about having got involved with the online sewing community, is that I was in danger of just having older friends of my own age or older. But now actually I've got a group of younger friends again too. And lots of you are my own daughter's age, and they think it, well, I think they think it's great. I don't know, they might think I'm a liability. I don't know. But I just love having younger friends again, because it's quite difficult to make younger friends, I think, otherwise, without. But I know when I go to meetups, and you and I both know this from having been to meetups, that it's like speed dating for dressmakers, I always think, because you know you've got the one thing in common until you discover other things that you have in common. So you've got something to talk about, haven't you?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. We start with what are you wearing, and soon, you know, we're talking about how we grew up in the same place in Australia, or what, you know, there's just so many little things. And that's what I love about sewing community and sewing meetups, is we not very rarely talk about sewing, actually, because, you know, we're all people with our own things going on, and it's really lovely.
No, that's right.
And I fully feel like that as well. I feel like I have friends from all different ages and backgrounds and everything because of the sewing community, and that's
all
really
over the
rare
world.
and special. Yes.
That's what's come home to me, particularly through So Over 50, is I have people I consider friends, I have conversations with all over the world. You know, Sandy is in Brisbane, and then there's others in America, on the west coast of America. I was chatting with Raquel, leaving a comment with Raquel earlier, and she's in Taipei. You know, all over the place. It's just fantastic. And it's also given me an empathy, I think, because there are people you really can talk to. So, for example, the terrible bushfires in Australia a year or so back, I could have conversations firsthand with people who were going through that awful situation. And seeing it on the media is one thing, but actually to have a conversation,
hearing it
with someone has been really enlightening and a privilege. I think it's been fantastic.
And wherever we go in the world, we've got some sewers to go and see.
Yes, and you can check out the sewing shops and things. I know that there's a fabric shop in St John's in Antigua, but unfortunately I didn't get time to go to it this time.
Oh, well, Sue, I mean, our time is up anyway, but it's so lovely to talk to you. I know what other people have been asking questions, but we've been chattering away.
I know, I'm trying to read them.
I know, it's really hard, isn't it? And then it quickly zooms past. Someone did ask a question, though. They said, when you make something that you're not happy with, which I can't imagine happens very much, what do you do with it?
It might hang there for a bit. And then I'll have a think about it, whether I can change it. I do alter a few things from time to time. I try to not get to the point where I don't like it when I put it on. That's the downside, I think, when we make our own clothes. If you go into a changing room and try on something and you don't like it, then you don't buy it, do you? But you haven't got that luxury when you're making it yourself. It's part of the process. And you need to check as you're going along whether you think it's going to suit you. And sometimes things are just a dud, aren't they? They just don't work. So it goes on the naughty step for a while. I've got a hanging rail out in the workroom, and it stays on there for a bit. There is a dress on there at the minute that is a complete dud, but the fabric is lovely, so I've got to do something.
I'm sure you can salvage it to make something else.
I hope so. I
Yeah,
hope so.
even like if
Yeah.
it becomes a top, or you know, there's options.
Yes, it could become a
hopefully.
skirt. It's the top part that doesn't work. It was a
Okay,
vintage
skirted it.
pattern, so I learned my lesson there that not all vintage patterns work brilliantly. Never
That's
mind, we
very
live and
true.
learn.
I've learned that lesson a few times too.
Definitely.
Oh, well, I'm just so pleased you could join us, and that you got to have your holiday and you got back safely and everything.
Thank
And
you. It's been
and
lovely.
enjoy the rest of the sunny day. Are you doing any gardening or anything today?
I don't know. My husband's going off to the football, so I'll have the house to myself.
So
I might go out and have a potter. Woo! Go and have a potter out in
Yeah.
3/4 and see what state I left it in, because it was all just too depressing before we went. And then suddenly, I've got to pack and throw everything in the suitcase. So I'll go and remind myself. The spiders will have moved in, obviously, with 2 weeks of me not being out there.
Yeah. Blow open the doors and the cobwebs and get in there.
Definitely. Well, it's been lovely seeing you.
Oh, you too. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you at a meetup soon. That would be really lovely.
Oh, I do hope so.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my darling. Well, lots and lots of love, and love to everyone that came to join us. Thank you.
Thank
and
you,
if you're
everyone.
catching up, thank you for staying to the end and watching. And thank you again, Sue. Lots of and huge shout out to Rainbow Fabrics for sponsoring us. They always have amazing. I mean, they've done another collection. Every time I speak to you, they've got another amazing collection. But it's incredible prices. I do suggest you check that out. And come north, please, says Small Smiley. I'm sure we'll come north soon.
Do our best.
Okay. Lots and lots.
Bye.